On today's show, the Hershey Bears pick up a big win in game number 2.
Your Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome into this edition of Locked On Capitals. I'm so glad you decided to join me today. As always, this podcast is free and available on all the major platforms, including the SiriusXM app and on YouTube. And I want to thank you for making this your first listen each and every day. My name is Dan Holme. I've covered the Capitals for the last 3 seasons for Locked On and various other outlets before that. I'm also the host of the weekly show called the Capitals Minutecast, available wherever you find your podcasts. You can find me on Twitter. It's at DanCaps218. You can find the show on Twitter. It's at Locked On Caps. And the best way that you can help grow the show is to subscribe to Locked On Capitals on YouTube and comment anything down below. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on to get started. So in this edition of Locked On Capitals, we talk about how the Hershey Bears pick up a huge win at home Sunday on Father's Day against the Coachella Valley Firebirds. We'll talk about that and why that win was so important. A little bit later, we will talk about photos that have emerged of Alex Ovechkin this offseason and saying he looks a little out of shape, maybe a bit of a dad body going on there. How concerned should we be about Alex Ovechkin? And then in the final segment, we will talk about Alex Ovechkin and his thoughts on goals being reviewed and how that came back to haunt him multiple times this last season. But just to get it going here, talking about the Hershey Bears picking up a huge win today on Sunday against the Firebirds at home as this series now shifts out to Coachella Valley for the next 3 games. And this has been a bit of a difficult series. And I know we're only 2 games into it, but, if we take a look at the teams that the Bears played before in the playoffs, the Phantoms, you take a look at the Wolfpack, you take a look at the Monsters, that there wasn't any significant pushback. There was some with Cleveland towards the end there, but all things considered, they were able to pretty much just sleepwalk their way through it. But this team, this Coachella Valley Firebirds, they're a different breed. It's with the head coach of Dan Belsma, who is again going to be the head coach of the Kraken next year. We remember his history in the NHL, and he has that team firing on all cylinders. It's a really great team. Of course, if they're playing at this point of the season, we know that. So it was of paramount importance that the Hershey Bears found a way to win today. Like I say, as this series now shifts out to Coachella Valley for the next 3 games, and certain players showed up big as the Hershey Bears, like I say, win in a convincing fashion, 5-2. The Bears' offensive firepower was on full display. Ivan Miroshnichenko, Jimmy Huntington, Pierrick Dubé, and Hardy Häman Aktell all finding the back of the net. I'm just going to go ahead and say I love this team. They have scoring up and down the lineup, and even Miroshnichenko has grown by leaps and bounds this offseason. I think solidifying his spot on the Capitals in the fall, just really kind of knocking everyone's socks off. I'm going to go ahead and say surprising me how great he's played. And not only that, Pierrick Dubé, we know what a big player he is on the Hershey Bears and how huge he was for Hershey all season. Playing really big right now with a big front aquarium on the front of his face. That is not a deterrent as he finds a way to score goals. And Hardy Häman Aktell, knocking it out of the park from the blue line, just huge out there. And then taking a look at it also, Hunter Shepard stood firm against a barrage of shots. There were times that the Firebirds were throwing the kitchen sink at Hunter Shepard, and he stood tall, making 32 saves and demonstrating his exceptional skill between the pipes. I've spoke about Shep Daddy many times that I would have zero problems with him if Darcy or Charlie got dealt this summer, if he came up and was in the rotation, either at number 1 or number 2, just really a dynamic netminder. But in particular, Ivan Miroshnichenko, if I'm going to pick one player in this early series that has really stood out, is Ivan Miroshnichenko. The game opened with a statement of intent from the Bears as Miroshnichenko notched his 7th goal of the playoffs just 5:51 into the first period, propelling the Bears to an early 1-0 lead. The young Russian winger's exceptional goal-scoring form has been instrumental for the Bears throughout the playoffs, and he has adapted to the North American game, I think, much quicker than anyone had anticipated. And if you listen to me when I talk about the Capitals, it's the same thing for the Bears. And just in general, the team that scores first controls the momentum. So it was huge that even Miroshnichenko was able to find the back of the net first. But Coachella Valley struck back early in the second period through Luka Henman, but the Bears swiftly responded. An error by the Firebirds netminder Chris Drieger behind his own net presented an opportunity that Alex Limoges capitalized on, setting up Jimmy Huntington for a crucial goal. And maybe not necessarily household names to Capitals fans. I'm talking about Jimmy Huntington in particular, but oftentimes when I talk about Bears players, we know, even Miroshnichenko, we know LaPierre, we know, those names that have kind of jumped up and down between the Bears and the Capitals. But there are some really great players that maybe you're not too familiar with that you should be, because I think that they are on the cusp of doing really great things in their careers. In particular, I'm talking Alex Limoges and Jimmy Huntington. Huntington, who has been enduring a dry spell, found the back of the net for his 3rd goal of the playoffs, injecting new energy into the Bears' offensive play. And this is a team that has had its fair share of struggles with the injuries to Pierrick Dubé, not to mention the blue line that has a lot of injuries as well. But it's just like everything else, it's next man up. And if your team has that needed depth, you can rise to the occasion, as the Bears did today. Huntington continues to make an impact, setting up Pierrick Dubé for another crucial goal. Just 3:41 later, despite initially fumbling his pass attempt, Dubé's goal, his 3rd in 5 games, further solidified the Bears' lead. Pierrick Dubé is the guy next season, I think for sure, that is set to make an impact on a Capitals team that wants to get younger and quicker. I'm also going to put Ethan Frank, of course, in that mix. I think a lot of these players on Hershey are going to be due for a promotion, or at least a look. I'm not going to say that they're going to find a spot for sure, but at least deserve a look. Another guy that I've spoke of on the show is Häman Aktell, then sealed the deal with another goal into the empty net from his own zone with just 11 seconds remaining. Keys on the blue line, Hardy Häman Aktell. If you're not familiar with him, get familiar. You should remember him when he played for the Capitals in camp last season. Despite missing key defensive and top scorers Garrett Rowe due to injuries, the Bears' depth was on full display, with Matt Stroh making a seamless return to bolster the team's lineup. The depth players stepped up admirably, with Limoges, Huntington, and Vecchione all delivering multi-point performances to compensate for the lack of scoring from the top line. This team has the depth that the Capitals do not. As of right now, I guess it remains to be seen what happens on July 1st, but a really fun team to watch. And, I do talk to quite a few Capitals fans, and some people just aren't that into AHL hockey. If you're not into it, get into it. It is exciting. It was on the NHL network. It's on Monumental. There is literally no excuse as Capitals fans for you not to be watching it. It has been some truly fun hockey to watch. As the series heads to California for the next 3 games, the Bears find themselves in a critical position. They must secure at least 1 victory in California to ensure that Giant Center hosts another electrifying playoff game this year. With their depth and determination, the Bears are poised to continue their quest for another Calder Cup. I do believe they can do it. The difficult part, however, as Bears fans, primarily on the East Coast, not on the West Coast, suffices to say that the games will be rather late, that you will have to be a really hardy hockey fan as I look at the schedule. 10 p.m., 10 p.m., 9 p.m. coming up here. So dig deep. If you don't have to work early in the morning, stay up and watch those games. It's going to be worth it. But this team is finding a way. The Hershey Bears are finding a way to overcome adversity, that even though they have their backs against the wall, it seems at times they're able to find a way to win these games. Some teams would have folded. If you take a look at the injuries on the blue line in particular for Hershey, they're finding a way to get it done. Again, truly fun hockey. All right, so coming up here straight ahead, we will talk about how Alex Ovechkin appears to be out of shape. And some people will say, Dan, you're not in the best shape yourself. Well, I'm not a professional athlete either. Alex Ovechkin is rocking a dad bod. And how concerned should we be as Capitals fans? I'll discuss straight ahead. A lot of life is unpredictable, but a good life insurance policy plan gives your family a financial safety net to protect against some of the unknowns. Policy Genius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. It makes choosing the right policy for your family easy and quick. And it's one of the things that I have taken care of is selecting a life insurance policy in the unfortunate event that something happens to me, that my wife and kids will be covered. So take that stress out of your life. Policy Genius helps you easily compare your options from America's top insurers in just a few clicks. Award-winning agents can even walk you through the process step by step. Your work life insurance policy may not offer enough protection for your family's needs. Even worse, it may not come with you if you leave your job. Policy Genius has no incentive to recommend one insurer over the other, so you can trust their guidance. They have thousands of five-star reviews on Google and Trustpilot from customers who found their needs met. Get peace of mind by finding the right life insurance policy with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team every day. In this next segment here, we are going to talk about the pictures that have come out, looking at Alex Ovechkin, seeing what he looks like, taking part in some different functions, and he looks a little out of shape. He looks like a hockey player that has hung it up and is retired. We know the struggles that Alex Ovechkin faced last season. His slowest start, turned it on, but was kind of non-existent in the playoffs. And the pictures that have emerged here recently show him, I'm just going to go ahead and say, not in shape and what you would classify as a dad bod. And I understand that this is June and he has quite a bit of time before now in the start of the season. Maybe he plans on hitting it hard in July and August. I don't know. But as of right now, it is going to be a bit of a mountain for him to climb to get into shape. Alex Ovechkin has had a legendary career in the NHL and has always been known for his toughness and durability. However, concerns have arisen among Caps fans after a quiet season from the league's best goal scorer and recent offseason photos suggesting he might be out of shape. As Ovechkin prepares for his 20th NHL season, there are questions about his ability to maintain his elite performance and break Wayne Gretzky's goal-scoring record. With just 42 goals needed to break the all-time record, Ovechkin has a legitimate chance to achieve this milestone. However, his physical condition has raised doubts about his readiness. And what are some of the things that we already know about Alex Ovechkin? By his own admission, there was a special on ESPN saying that he doesn't adhere to any strict diet that a lot of the younger guys do. I'm talking about the boiled chicken and broccoli and just a lean existence. He is a guy that likes to eat pasta. He is a guy that likes to have Coca-Cola in his water bottle at the games. He is also the guy that eats a steady diet of Subway sandwiches with flaming hot Cheetos. Not necessarily the kind of diet that you want to have at this point of your career, considering the struggles that you had last year, considering that you are, in fact, chasing down Wayne Gretzky. And at the end of the day, you're trying to help the Capitals win hockey games. So are we reading into it too much? or are the pictures deceiving? A look online and you can see for yourself. Last season, Ovechkin scored only 31 goals in 79 games and struggled in the playoffs. As he approaches 39 years old, it's evident that maintaining his peak performance will require extra effort. A recent photo of Ovi had a noticeable dad bod, in quotes, has raised concern among Capitals fans about the fitness for the upcoming season. While it's not unusual for athletes to relax and gain weight in the offseason, Ovi's physical condition has sparked a debate about the expectation for athletes like him during the offseason. Some argue that maintaining peak physical condition is crucial, especially with a significant record on the line, while others believe that players can still perform effectively despite not having a perfectly sculpted physique. And this is not a fairness thing. This is not a body image thing. This is, you are considering playing at the highest level possible. You are an NHL player. It doesn't get any bigger than that. You must adhere to rules that other people don't. If you want to partake in fast food and not taking care of yourself, there's an office job there somewhere out there for you. But you are considered to be a peak athlete. And for me, if you're just asking my opinion, I think it's a little reckless. It's just going to be something more that he's going to have to overcome. And, if he doesn't get that production in the fall earlier in the season, are we going to be able to draw lines to him being out of shape? There were times to start the season that he looked rather winded. And, oftentimes people will do that. Well, what about you, Dan? I'm not a professional athlete. He is. That's why he's getting paid a boatload of money. So that is my take on it right now. Now, the caveat to all of this, of course, like I said, maybe his plan is on July 1st, he's going to hit it hard with his trainer. Maybe that is the case. But if that is not the case, I think that, yes, in fact, there is at least a level of concern as he does look not his best self, I'm going to go ahead and say. So I think that is something that, should be pushed to the front burner in his mind. But, if I know anything about Alex Ovechkin, he's not the kind of person that you can sway his opinion. The question remains, should Ovechkin be held to a higher standard given the goal scoring record? This debate reflects his high expectations placed on elite athletes and the intense scrutiny they face both on and off the ice. I don't think I really need to say much more about Alex Ovechkin other than that, I'm concerned about you, man. I know that you struggled last season. I know that you went to the All-Star break in Dubai and came back a changed man, but I also saw you struggle in the playoffs. And, I look at the players, comparables that are even older. For example, I see what Tom Brady did. Peak fitness, he saw the writing on the wall that I'm not the youngest man anymore, that if I'm going to play the best that I possibly can, I should be in peak fitness. Now, Tom Brady set himself to a standard that I don't think most people can attain. It was a very regimented lifestyle. However, Alex Ovechkin does appear that, at least according, looking at his diet, it has gone off the rails, I think is what I'm going to say. A steady diet of pasta, Coca-Cola, Subway, nachos, whatever he's eating this offseason that we don't know about, it's a little bit reckless considering how much he struggled last season. If that was me, say I struggled and, I take what I do very seriously, I would do my darndest to make sure that didn't happen again. Just from this, from outside point of view, it looks like a little bit reckless. You think that you would find a way to dial it in a little bit, that you would say, hey, maybe I should maybe not do this. Maybe I struggled last season. Maybe I should be working out. I only have a couple of years left on my contract anyway. After that, let the pasta fly, pasta, Doritos, whatever you want to do. But while you are still having your check cut by the Capitals, the NHL team, KHL, wherever, you should try to be your best self. That's my take on it. I think that Alex Ovechkin should look at it that way. Again, he's not the kind of guy that can have his opinion swayed, but there is at least a level of concern with the pictures I've seen. Again, I guess it remains to be seen what he looks like in the fall once practice starts. All right, so coming up here straight ahead, we will talk about Alex Ovechkin and his thoughts on goals being reviewed and then oftentimes overturned. He was the victim of that quite often. I'll weigh in straight ahead. Summertime means baseball, the NBA Finals, and more, and you can bet on it all with FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use to bet on everything from the Finals MVP to who's going to hit one out of the park. And listen, often when you're watching a sporting event, maybe you're not that interested. Your team's not playing that well. Well, if you want to get into the game and make it that much more exciting, open up the FanDuel app, put a little bit of money on the game. All of a sudden, the game is that much more exciting. So visit FanDuel.com/locked-on and add a big win to your summer bucket list. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Talking Alex Ovechkin in the last segment here, and goals being reviewed and then oftentimes overturned. And it seems that the Capitals and Alex Ovechkin were victim to that quite often last season. And how much should we look into this? Should everything that's done on the ice be put under the microscope? Should everything that's out there, had a magnifying glass put on it and stop it and review it and stop it and review it? Well, that is the question that we're going to talk about in this last segment. Now, this isn't just anything. These are goals being reviewed. And I guess all things considered, I would say it's a good thing. But it's the consistency in which these goals are either called as good goals, which is horrible grammar because a goal in and of itself is a goal. Good goal is redundant, but that is a topic for another time. And a goal being overturned because it is perceived as being a bad goal or not an allowed goal because it didn't go across the line all the way, that kind of thing. And one of the things that Alex Ovechkin talked about, and I'll talk about it here in this segment, is that that's fine if the rules are easy to understand. It's a lot like baseball, and baseball has been under scrutiny as well as far as balls and strikes are concerned. And it seems that as technology gets better, you think that it would be better all around. But it seems like umpires and officials on ice and just officiating in general has taken a dip. And why is that? And is it for the best that we must find the need to review everything that happens? Alex Ovechkin, the capital of the Capitals, is known for his incredible talent. And we know that, his passion for the game and love of hockey. Over the past year, Ovi has faced frustration due to multiple goals being taken off the board after video review and coaches' challenges. In an interview with It's Hockey Brother, Ovechkin expressed his weariness with the trend, stating that if he could change any rule in the NHL, it would be to eliminate video replays and coaches' challenges altogether. However, that is from the Capitals' point of view, if that negatively affects you. How about goals that the Capitals score that they say aren't good goals? Do you not want those goals reviewed? So it's an interesting tightrope to walk on, that if you got to take the good, you have to take the bad with it. I think Alex Ovechkin is coming from a place of frustration because he saw a fair amount of his goals overturned for that. I do understand his frustration. The team lost the second most challenges in the league last season, with 9 decisions going in favor of the opposing team. Ovechkin specifically recalled a conversation and a controversial call against the Nashville Predators where his game-tying goal was canceled due to goaltender interference. He emphasized the inconsistency in how similar situations were handled, which led to his frustration with the current system. Coaches' challenges and constant reviews where games are on the line. He recites an episode or a game with Nashville where it was a game-tying goal. Those are very frustrating. And then you got to wonder at the end of the day, did the official get it right? That is the frustrating part for fans and for hockey players alike. As Ovechkin prepares for his 20th NHL season and approaches Wayne Gretzky's all-time goals record, he acknowledged the challenges posed by the referees' differing perspectives and the lack of clarity in their decisions during video replays. Despite these frustrations, Ovechkin's dedication to the game remains unwavering as he continues to pursue hockey and chasing after Gretzky. So, you take a look at it. If your goal is overturned, of course, you hate it. Like, I'll put this system away, but say the Capitals scored the game tying goal or a game winning goal. Wouldn't you want that goal reviewed? So again, that to reiterate, you have to take the good, you have to take the bad. And I think as far as Alex Ovechkin, where he's coming from a player that has had some of his goals overturned. He's not looking at the big picture of that if those goals weren't reviewed, that maybe the Capitals would have in fact lost games as well. So again, an interesting position, these rules that keep changing. I think the one thing that fans and players alike would like is consistency. What is good? What is not good? And avoid the gray area. Me as a person, I struggle with gray area in my work life and everything. It's either yes or it's no, with no exception. I don't like exceptions. So I think that players also struggle with that. So if there was a bit more clarity and if you could avoid gray area situations, I think that would make players and fans happy. And at the end of the day, that's what we want. We want our players happy and the fans of the team happy as well. Listen, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, your only daily year-round podcast covering the Washington Capitals. And I want to thank all of you that listen on the audio side and watch this on YouTube. You are ultimately what makes this show successful. When you're done here, head on over to Locked On's 24/7 streaming channel, available on the free Amazon Fire TV channels app and on YouTube. All right, once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Dan Holme, and I'll talk to you again next time.